is just about 30 minutes away from central London. And when fully completed, the £230 million campus will support a load of about 35 megawatts and a technical space of 150,000 square feet. As for NTT is now the third largest data center operator in the world. The company recently brought together 31 brands and announced a $7 billion project, investment plan for its data center portfolio across the world. BroadGroup is a pure-play data center operator, providing state-of-the-art colocation in and around London from 10 data centers. And BroadGroup is also part of the NTT Telemedia Group data centers and GCS portfolio. And combined, the three brands have about 86 facilities, mainly in Asia as well. Guys, thanks a lot for joining me. We've heard a lot about hyperscale consumption and edge computing. So how have you seen the market change from a colocation perspective? How has the market changed in how is colocation filtrating the hyperscale and edge side of the sector today? And maybe we can find a little bit of edge in still be.
Just an easy
yeah, I think from our perspective, we play right across the spectrum. So we're seeing increasing growth coming from all of those sectors. We're quite fortunate. We have our traditional, more real estate focused colo platforms that we've had, and we also have retail platforms that we're now recently brought together under one roof. So I think what you are seeing is increased demand drivers coming out of those sectors. As Louisa just said in her presentation, the adoption is fairly slow, but I think we're starting to see the trends build in terms of the procurement activities that are going on at the moment. Specifically the fintech providers as well, looking to the future on cloud and looking to put in place capacities. I think there's still a lot of confusion internally within the data center sector and also within the fintech as to what defines cloud, edge, hyperscale, colo. I think we will end up seeing it all merged into one, and certainly that's what we're doing from a service play perspective.
Yeah, I don't know, can you hear me without the microphone? Okay. I think there is a huge blurring of the different products between hyperscale into retail. We've done a lot of work with Open Compute, which is obviously founded by a lot of the hyperscale originators, Facebooks and so on. Really trying to drive that for cost basis back into the sort of colo market, and really the product that they're all using in terms of what we do, which is the layer zero, if you like, the power, the cooling, the connectivity, is much of a muchness. It's really just how much of it you take in any one sort of club. What we are seeing is growth, as John was saying, across the sector. So we're seeing the hyperscalers taking not 5 megawatts a time, but 10s, 20s and 40 megawatts a time. But we're still seeing quite a lot of the sort of people who go for colocation services where they may be only taking sort of 500 to 2 megawatts worth of power, but they can coexist within the same sort of specification. And I think that's largely driven by trying to drive down cost. As we get into more of a commodity market, the price is definitely, and I'm sure you'll see that, a key factor on how it changes. But yeah, very similar specifications, but can be tweaked in terms of size.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. Daryl, Seaton from Lotus. The guys have made a common theme comment, which is one person's hyperscale, perhaps there's another person's colo, there's another person's edge, because it really depends what the person is doing in your data center and who they're trying to get close to. So if you think about it from a Facebook, for example, perhaps, their production might be in the Arctic Circle, but their edge is in our hyperscale data center. So you can blur it by offering a product which is accessible and relevant to all of those participants in a modern, large, efficient data center like we provide and all panelists do.
And you all have wide, sizable portfolios, and most of them based around metro areas. With edge computing deploying a lot of this in the city itself, does edge computing pose a challenge to your strategies?
skip ahead to a question. So I think they can coexist. I think the definition of edge computing can be extrapolated in a way that perhaps I don't see a market for. So the micro edge computing, whereby it's at towers or in cars driving around, helping you with autonomous vehicles, there is a specific use case there, but that's not what we build our product to deliver, and that's not what we do. But in our business, where we're seeing large growth from those hyperscale operators, they need co-location. Whether they need edge co-location and how the people who need edge co-location are delivering their own product, that's a separate issue.
Yeah, I guess again it comes down to specification of what the edge is in terms of size, in terms of backup, resilience. Edge could be, and you know, we've heard this before, the screen that you see in McDonald's or during a breakfast in the morning, or it could be something 3 megawatts worth of capacity in a data centre like ours, I know that's sort of out of London complex. Very difficult to sort of predict what's going to be required. I think that's one of the sort of key drivers in the whole market, is that sort of prediction, not only of specification but load. And I think Louise touched on it as well. It's very difficult to get the hyperscalers and colocation users to predict what their loads are going to be, because the market is changing so rapidly. It's very difficult for them to forecast, and then very difficult for us to forecast. And touching on one of your other themes is, how do we then reduce the time to market when we talk about those things? Because if your supply chain isn't aligned with getting on with real estate and power supply and all the rest of it, how do we tie all those things together to develop the product, whatever the product is, be it a small edge data centre or large hyperscale? There's a lot of moving parts, and until the whole market has sort of settled down and people understand what their sort of transformation strategies are, it's very difficult to transfer that into hard and fast power and cooling.
All the entities view such a large project.
I think we're seeing it at all ends of the spectrum. So for me, it's no longer sort of hyperscale, colo, or edge. They're all colocation. We have hyperscale customers co-locating where we're doing single building built to suits on a campus. We're also doing what would be described by some people as edge deployments within metros. We have a lot of smart city initiatives going on. We've just done in Las Vegas, for example, where we're ultimately providing a digital infrastructure platform, which I think is common now for all of us within the data center space. We are layer one of that digital platform. And what's changing on top is actually buyer behaviour. These are the things that are quantifying, and we're so quick within this sector to put people into buckets, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to swap the bucket around that quickly at the moment. So, you know, we have hyperscalers buying 25 kilowatts from us in certain places. We have enterprises buying 5 megawatts plus from us in certain places as well. So it depends on the market, it depends on the requirements, it depends on the timing, but I think you're seeing that increasingly become converged. And you can see this with some of the digital infrastructure players coming in as well, who are viewing this as a digital logistics platform. And this is end-to-end distribution from hub to spoke to edge, and then into 5G small cell DAS. So it's becoming completely converged.
And being up on data speech markets, when we talk about development and deployments and how to deploy more capital to build more infrastructure, what sort of challenges are you facing? And do you think those challenges, you've already mentioned some challenges, but what are the challenges you're facing? And do you think those challenges are sort of creating opportunity for new players to come to market? I don't know if this is when Gail was talking a little bit about Brexit, but I'm sure they'll come over some
I'm sure I've got it there to talk about it. I don't think any of the political parties are. Yeah, it's very difficult and provides some challenges from the investment angle. Clearly, one of the things that is driving the use of data is driving the price down, so it becomes a commodity like your iCloud storage at 79p a month for however many gigabytes. So to driving that down is having a huge pressure on the investment we can make in terms of the timing of the investment in a data centre. It's very capital intensive. Making sure all the equipment's there to align with the demand from the different hyperscalers or co-locators. But I think actually you're right there. Everybody's a co-locator really. It's just the scale of it, whether it be 250 kilowatts or 40 megawatts. But that price being driven down and the sort of commoditisation of it in what is still a very, very immature market in reality. You know, if you look at the electricity market, we're what, 120, 130 years since electricity supply companies started providing electricity as a commodity. How has that changed? And people can only supply into the market when they've got forecasts of what they're going to be using, within reason. If we can't get those forecasts out of the people that want the sort of layer 0 or level 1 power and cooling, it's very difficult then to sort of second guess where they're going to go, because network connectivity makes a huge difference for some people, their availability zones. It's just very complex and too many moving parts, I think, for anybody to absolutely tie it down. But what we try and do is obviously provide an architecture that's very flexible, power and cooling wise, and make sure that we're on all the connection to the highways. From that, you can sort of piece together what you need for a specification.
Sure. If you look at it from a financial returns perspective, we're in business to make money, and we have to stay relevant and stay efficient to do that. We have to have a product that is attractive to our customers at a price point that makes sense to them. And we have to raise money and deliver returns to our investors in a way that makes all of those pieces that Gerard was talking about work. I think the trend of larger data centers and the trend of returns on capital, which may change as your investors change as you grow to scale, are consistent themes. So you have to build relevant products and efficient data centers, and I think that world is changing. We invested plus minus £30 million in our first data center, and that is now a 4 megawatt data center in North London. And the halls that we are delivering in our latest data centers have more megawatts than our first data center. So that is a world that is really changing fast, and I think that scale and that the pressures to deliver those returns manifest themselves in, can you deliver an efficient product? Can you deliver an efficient product at a price point that's relevant? And so you have to be judicious in how you're raising your capital and how you're deploying your capital, because, as we were just saying, those demand predictors can't be relied on, and so you have to put your risk profile out there for discussion. That's one of the things that we've done, I think, has been quite effective, where we've built speculative data centers, and what we're now seeing as we're maturing is the balance is coming towards pre-let data centers when we've built that customer momentum and the customer credibility, and that gives you more kind of rope with your investors to deliver more product, but it's always quite a fragile gem.
I think in terms as well, for our sector, there's probably never been so much liquidity and finance available now, very different to a few years ago. And that's driving changes of behaviour, changes of deployments as well. Obviously, private equity, the guys are in the space for several years, but now you've got large-scale infrastructure players coming in who've got very different demand horizons. They've got lower returns and they've got longer horizons, and that's going to start to shift the market as well. And whereas there was a gap probably 2-3 years ago where it was harder for new players to come, I think that's starting to be cyclical somewhat, because there are less vehicles available for the abundance of capital to invest into the sector. That's going to continue, and I think that will then drive You're starting to see new providers pop up in the edge space as well. Also, at the other end of the spectrum in the hyperscale or the build-to-suit space, because for those different ends of the spectrum, on the hyperscale build-to-suit, you've got large-scale investment, huge capex events with long-term guaranteed returns, which fits a certain type of capital. And then on the edge space, that's more akin to your double-digit growth, which is more private equity based. So that's also driving things from the operator side and the supplier side. So I think we'll have to watch this space there. There's going to be a lot more competition coming back in, particularly at those ends.
And before we open the floor to questions, as we heard Louise say about the FS market, financial services have historically been quite an important customer for you guys. How have you seen the demands change over the years? And we've heard some of them from Louise, but how have you seen it from being the ones providing this position?
So we have a broad financial service customer base. We typically have seen a transition from maybe 10 years ago. We used to talk about the high frequency trading part of the estate that was driving all of the IT decision of where those customers wanted to locate. And then we saw maybe after the GFC and through the early 2010s, 2013s, we saw a bifurcation of the financial services whereby they said, well, we don't have to have all of our emails where our trading systems are, and so we can deploy them in different places. I think what Louise was saying is something that we recognise and we see the reluctance to take on risk, to embrace change, and the challenges within the departments within those large financial institutions whereby the risk team is saying something different to the commercial team, delivers a solution where people often don't move. They kind of come up and test the market, but they're a much stickier client base in my experience than other customers. I think as a sector, we all know it's got pretty large inertia, but the reluctance to embrace change and look around, which obviously is from the journey we've been on from a startup to the company size we are now, as we've seen both sides of it. It's hard to get in, and then once you're in, it's good because they can't get out. But I think that sector is less risk-taking, or they're much more reluctant to change than other sectors, in my experience.
So I think you probably hit the nail on the head there. Certainly years ago, when I was involved in more of the sort of consultancy side of the business, we were very much looking at building these greatly tier 4, tier 2 data centres, bomb-proof, missile-proof, and at a huge, huge cost, and for putting all of their data in. We have certainly seen, I think, lots of financial data being put into more sort of co facilities or managed services provider hands, because it drives cost down, so that there is that benefit of moving that stuff around. But you're right, it is very, very sticky in terms of a load. We certainly sort of had the opportunity to introduce people to our efficient data centres and so on, but it's quite a big move for people to pick up that load, move all the applications across for the sake of saving a bit of money. I mean, there is obviously a price point where the migration costs, if they can sort of be covered by the cost operating benefits, the energy consumption reduction benefits are going to an efficient place. But it's quite a decision to make, whereas if you can use that just to drive down the rental on an existing property, and it still has the right spec, then
That's risk.
yeah, without, yeah. If you stay where you want, the risk is not zero, but
I think it's interesting. Financial services and data center co-location have often had a love-hate relationship over the years. From the colo provider perspective, financial services is almost probably the most frustrating sector to deal with. You engage, put a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resource, and then a lot of the time the decision was made to keep things in-house and on-prem. And then from the other side of the fence, you've had financial services there, and a number of people within those organisations who are sort of seen as the fathers of data centres because they built their own before there was even a colo sector. So you have a lot of those dynamics working in play as well with those sectors. So am I going to outsource my infrastructure to that? Well, it's not as good as something I could build myself and I've got it here. And then you've got the financial pressures coming in to make that move out and outsource as well. So I think that's added to the slow uptake and the slow adoption. There's politics within the financial services sector internally that doesn't necessarily sit within other enterprise segments. I think from our perspective, we're starting to see more and more, though, the sort of rise of tech within those sectors. We set up our innovation labs probably 2.5 years ago now. We invite financial services, all sectors in. This is a try before you buy. It's a live test environment within the data centres. There's a lot of development going on in there. Whilst it may not be currently manifesting itself in large-scale procurement on the outsourcing side, I would say, going back to my comment at the start of the panel, that it's because there's quite a lot of R&D going on in there. There's a lot of figuring out of how best to deliver those solutions and services, and also which loads to keep on-prem, which can move off-prem, and which are going to be the future growth sites. So there's a lot of application testing being going on within our networks as well, so I think it's coming. And I think it will be a growth area over the next probably 2 to 3 years within our sector.
A lot of learning and opportunities here.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions?
There are that's something you talked about just now. The hyperscalers moved in, and sort of 3, 4, 5 years ago, they were power land banking. They've moved that and bolted down market. So you guys are providing that service for them, and you've had to change your business models. How did that work when it first happened? And how do you deal with the guerrilla gets to work with the rental customers?
I think the key thing is to get back to knowing your customer, try and get as close as you possibly can to try and work out what that prediction of drawdown is going to be.
Does it help you to do that? It gives you clarity and target at the moment?
Clarity, but it's the only way to try and manage it. A lot of the sort of more traditional colos, like deals, come along a lot quicker and can be serviced quicker and be installed and off they go. Working up the hyperscale, there's an awful lot of investment in putting together framework agreements so that, as you say, it sort of covers their land banking sort of requirements so that they know at a moment's notice they can call down within a certain time frame, space here, there, or wherever. Our trick is being able to keep in touch with people like that and sort of trying to recheck and remeasure how long that's going to be and balance that with investing capital ourselves to build the next shell or the next data hall so that we've got some speculative capacity available. Because as sure as if you don't do that, then they'll move on to the next in line. And it's only once you start building those relationships with people that actually you get a lot more comfortable, and then the flow of information and exchange probably becomes a lot easier. But yeah, I think that transference of that risk has gone into the supply chain, and we try and do the same with our supply chain. So we try and have vendor managed inventory with generators, UPSs where we can, because if they're not there for us to draw down, we can promise what we like in terms of actually building the space and delivering it. Unless we've got the backup, it's impossible to achieve.
Sorry to hold the floor. Could I ask John, do you think that had changed your investor profile, that you now have a level of certainty of a bulk load that's coming sometime certain? Did that change the type of investors you see coming into the market?
It does. I mean, it's slightly different for us. So for NTT, we take a long-term view anyway. So NTT is quite comfortable with spec development. That said, it has to be mitigated. I think there's certainly an increased focus on sort of macroeconomics when we look at different markets as well. So I wouldn't say it's changed necessarily our behaviour. I think in general in the market it's changed quite a lot, and you're having more mature and educated investors coming in. That's a double-edged sword at times. Sometimes a little knowledge can be dangerous with these things. So previously, I think once you had capital backing on board, there was quite a lot of autonomy given with that, because it's Harry Potter and the Dark Arts were all things data centre. That's fallen away a little bit, which I think the pros outweigh the cons there on that side of things. But I think there's some changes, but not major changes. You're just seeing a maturity of the sector.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions?
We've seen a lot of growth from the hyperscalers over the last few years as well, but they've also been responsible for the downward pricing pressure as well on the market as well. There's certainly increased competition in our industry for multi-operators now. How do you see that playing out? Because they're very aggressive in their negotiations, but how are you tackling that?
So sure. I think it's an interesting dynamic that if you look at it from an investor perspective, there's never been a shortage of the demand story, but the supply story is one of the answers to that. So if you have the right product in the right place, you can create an environment perhaps where there's not only one party in town who's looking for that product, and I think naturally you'll find it, the price will find its level. I think when it goes too far down, those people you have relationships with will realize that there's a negotiation and there's a symbiotic relationship between surviving and growing together. And if they want to consolidate their supplier base to a small, let's say a handful, a couple of global relationships, then that's got to work. If they treat you like a commodity and the price only heads south, then I think what they'll find is that you won't deal with it. And then you've really got to look at that symbiotic relationship. So for us, as being part of a global group, we're seeing some of those repeating themes through the customer base, through different geographies. And I think when you've got to that point, that is a very different discussion to when it's a one-off, one geography, one site discussion. We've been through that journey, but different people at the table, different stages, if you like, of that global group that they're part of or not. But I think that's kind of been my experience.
If I just add that, I mean, I think to a certain extent it's developing that sort of partnering type of arrangement with a customer. Everybody's got to make some money out of it. It's the extent of that money you make, you clearly can't sort of rip people off. But what you've got to do is keep providing the right solution. So there's no point providing over resilience or over redundancy if their applications don't need it. So it's matching that specification to what they actually want to buy. That helps you reduce the capital intensity as much as possible and reflect that and still make a return. But also the efficiency, the running efficiency, because that's a huge part of it. You know, the saving of PUE from 1.6, 1.7 down to 1.2, for instance, can be perhaps £25 a month in rental, which is a huge amount when you've got somebody who only wants to pay 60, 70 or 80 euros a kilowatt in rental. So, yeah, focusing actually what you're delivering for what they're requesting, I think, is important.
Yeah, I think it depends on, there's a number of factors. So I think data center colocation is maturing, and I think hyperscale procurement of that service is maturing a little bit as well. From the hyperscale side, you can put pressure on private equity-backed independents and drive the price down, but I think that sector now realises that there is a flaw to that, because you can push too far, and sometimes too cheap is now seen as that, I think. So I think you've seen a balancing probably in the sector. Certainly we have in those procurement discussions where they realise when too far is too far now. I think everybody's probably much of a muchness on price within a certain sector. So you're starting to see it sell more now on service and value. And I think also importantly, there's a certain number of providers, and the customer base likes diversity of provider as well. So I think there's less of the throat cutting that was possibly going on in the past as well within the sector. And also it depends on a certain market and a certain time and supply demand factors. We're in some emerging markets where there's very limited supply, there's obviously growing demand, and there's very limited competition there. So that's picking up. But again, in tier 1 markets and markets like London, I'd say it's quite stabilised now. It's about delivering, it's about future capacity roadmap, and that's what they're more focused on. In some other markets, due to external factors like power constraints, you're starting to see rebound on pricing as well, and that's increasing, which is one back for the operators for once. So.
But I think developing that relationship with the service provider so they're there for the long term, that there's not instability in the operating platform is absolutely critical.
It's all about timing. At the moment when they're making a procurement decision, some customers are as concerned about the long-term runway platform as they are about the individual decision. And if they're concerned about the long-run platform, then it's also a geographic concern. And I think if you play all of those factors together, you can steer the conversation away from price, and that's been our path.
Got time for one last question?
Just picking up on Louise's point about the 20 or 30 optical miles or kilometres, the replication point. How are you seeing that play out in the UK? Because naturally that's leading to perhaps power and land constraints in those areas.
I can tell you my experience, which is I think those people who develop clusters or AZs, not everybody does it the same. Not everybody starts in the same area. Geographically, obviously, West London's been a big hub for most of the hyperscale operators, but I think the introduction and potential speculation that new AZs are turning up in a central hub like London, could have potentially 2 AZs, could change that dynamic. But I think that is one of the points I was making before, which is if you manage to procure the first AZ deployment with one of those customers, then actually their options are kind of slightly constrained, and that's what I was referring to in the symbiotic comment I made earlier, which is at the present time those guys are in growth mode, and I think to move towards a scenario where they're not, well, it's not the current state that we're in right now, they're absolutely in growth mode, and when they're doing that they need partners, and we're trying to all of us become their partners in doing that.
Anyone else wants to add anything?
Yeah, I'd say you've got factors of space and power constraints will drive everything ultimately, and the technical teams within those businesses will want everything to be put in a certain place, but you can't always deliver the roadmap for that. Their procurement teams as well are scouring the same markets we're scouring. They're trying to put those roadmaps in. Everybody's wanting to secure land capacity, everybody wants to secure power capacity, and both of those things are financed. We're seeing it more now through the network side of our business as well. The long-term security of submarine capacity is a constraint that's not widely focused on. So that's now coming into play as well. So again, it's that buyer behaviour driver, and we're seeing a lot of, I would say, 5 to 10 year minimum forecast purchasing coming from those sectors as well.
I think we're going to have to leave it there because we're running a little bit behind. Daryl, Gerard, and John, thanks for joining us. I'd like now to maybe welcome Mark back on stage. Thank you.